All right, let's talk about knives for a minute. I'm not sure what inspired this video, but here we are. So, this one's my favorite, and I brought it up because Kyle brought a Cold Steel kind of K-bar knife over, but this has gone down in price. It's one of my favorite knives, and the balance and stuff I really like. It's a little shrimpy compared to these other guys here, but I like it. And right now these things are like $70. They used to be a lot more. And there's a Sanmai 3 version. They call it the CPM 3V. Right now it's going for like $255, but that's worth it if you want an indestructible knife. But this thing, it works, and it's a handy little addition. But the Cold Steel that Kyle picked up, which kind of started the probably inspired this whole video, is it's like a Leatherneck, what's it called? Leatherneck SF. It's $150. That D2 German steel.
115.
Did I say 50?
Yeah.
115. Look, full tang. That's one thing that these K-bars do not have, is a full tang. You can definitely feel it. It's a lot heavier than a regular K-bar, but it's a little on the thicker end too, just a touch. You know, maybe a 16th. But yeah, this thing, it feels like a beast. I could see your hand getting tired if you were using it a lot, to be honest. I mean, it feels like a freaking sword, pretty much. But we'll go back to this thing in a minute. The classic K-bar, these things are about the same price. It's $1 or $2 more expensive. And what I didn't like in the core about the old K-bars is this stacked leather. It does get slippery, especially if you get sweaty or whatnot. But if you look, that it has that little rat tail tang, and it's not a full, it's a full tang, but it goes way down into like a wire tang kind of. I'm trying to remember what that thing's called, and I can't really come up with anything right now. But the good old K-bar is in the, we'll call it $117 if you don't have the logos and stuff embossed on it. So compared to this thing, value-wise, like, you know, you might want to go with the Cold Steel, to be honest, if you're really going to be taxing your knife, you know. But here's a shortcut. You know, we're always about shortcuts. You get your cool little Ninja sheath here that you can 550 onto your stuff. Yeah, it doesn't have the super full tang on it, but oh, don't kill myself. All right. So you got your K-bar blade. Nothing's changed. This thing with the fancy sheath is $72. And this Creighton G handle, it's a lot grippier than the stacked leather. I like this thing way more than the original K-bar that I was issued back in the day. Like this thing, you know. I'd go for this thing all day long. And you're saving yourself $30. Like, I don't know, man. That's a no-brainer, right? But looking at this function, I have bent blades on K-bars before when I was in, and it's because of that little rat tail tang that it has. So you can destroy these knives. You can hurt them, you know, and that would be solved with this thing. So if you've got the money, these, and this, the sale price, as we looked it up on the internet, Kyle picked his up for like 70 something bucks when it was on sale, but it's saying 115 is what it sells at. That's the MSRP. And I don't know, man. I think this thing would be a beast, to be honest. If I had to pick one knife that I had to like ride it out with, and it's kind of crazy because, you know, time-wise, when you say if I had to ride it out, you know, it's some little fantasy setting, and that's becoming less and less of a fantasy setting as we go. So this is stuff that you might want to be thinking about. But yeah, if you anticipate some really heavy knife use, you might want to look into this Cold Steel thing. Now, this guy here, it can do a little bit of everything. What the original reason why I bought this thing back in the day was, and if you ever watch, and if you've never seen the Cold Steel videos, just go watch all of them, because that, what's his name, Lynn something?
Oh, yeah.
The guy is like, he's a maniac, and he does all kinds of crazy shit with these knives. And I impulse bought the knife. I saw him cut a hole through a car hood with this thing, and then they climbed up he obviously is not climbing up a stack of railroad ties using 2 of these knives. It was somebody else, but the guy was using them as pegs and just climbing up railroad ties with them. And I was like, sold. And I bought one like the next day. But yeah, I did lose one of these in Afghanistan, and then I bought another one. So now I have a shiny new one. This one's technically never even been used. I might, and if it has, it's been babied, but I kind of beat up the other one I had, and I really liked it. And this thing, if you got sweaty hands, it is not coming out. This rubber coating is phenomenal, but it will, if you wire it too close to your gear, you eventually can friction rub the rubber coating off of the corners up here, because mine was starting to lose some rubber towards the end there before it decided to go away. Yeah. So I don't know. You got anything?
Well, Mike sent me to Cold Steel because of this, and like I watched some of the videos. Like he said, they got impressive videos on all their knives, but then I saw that this was, I think, same price as this one when I bought it on sale. This has the full tang. It doesn't have the rubber on the back, so that won't rub off. It's only rubber right on the grip.
Well, yeah, it's got the hammer caps on.
It's got a hammer cap. And for me, a knife, I want something that I can set, and if I need to use it as a hammer, I can use it as a hammer. And this, my hand won't go off the blade. So like if I take this out and I smash something, I get hammered in.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because and you might not be able to see it. Here, pull that out just for a second. One thing that kind of annoys me about K-bars is the guard bends inward, and I'm sure there's a reason why they did that. But when you hold it,
mine doesn't.
Yours doesn't do it. Yeah. That I like that. That's a positive. Actually, it looks like it has a little bit of an upsweep to it.
Yeah.
It goes the other direction, which is what I would want. That's another thing that kind of has drawn me towards that Cold Steel. I don't like how this thing bends downward, and I don't. If somebody knows why they do that, hook me up and tell me. But not a fan of this. I mean, I'm sure I could put it in a vise and make it work, but then I'm gonna make it ugly, and you know how that goes.
And for Cold Steel, they do make a Tonto version each of these as well. If you prefer the Tonto point over the drop point.
Has its advantages. It's way easier.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, between a drop point and a Tonto point, it's like sharpening a blade is sharpening a blade. Yeah. But, you know, you can focus on the tip a little easier with the Tonto blade.
They do make both of the SRK and the Leatherneck and Tonto points if you prefer it over a drop point. But
yeah. We got anything else?
No, for the price, they're not bad. I mean, they're not as cheap as Mora, but the Moras aren't full tangs either. So
yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I'd say out of these, I mean, price wise, these two here, if you're on a budget and you got to buy everything at once because you waited too long and said it'll never happen, you're probably looking at these two lanes right here.
Yeah.
If you got everything, you know, and if you're not a boomer or an old grizzled, crusty Marine that just is indoctrinated to eating crayons, you really don't need you're paying extra for the leather when you buy this thing, you know, and the Tacticool version is every bit as functional as this one, if not more, you know. So if you're like civilian or not Marine Corps guy, I would just kind of ignore that one, to be honest. The new technologies, the new materials, they've kind of surpassed that whole stacked leather thing. That's sort of becoming a thing of the past for me, but I'm a sweaty hands guy, you know. So, but yeah, this thing, if you can afford it, and if you're an 85-pound housewife, you might not want to buy this one because it is heavy. You're going to feel it. You can feel the difference. I would say that this thing is probably twice as heavy as this. Would you? I don't know. We didn't look up weights, which, you know.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, it feels like it could. It's at least 50% heavier, yeah, for sure. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was even more. I mean, I don't know. That full tang really, and that SRK has a full tang also, so they say. I don't know. You can't tell with the. You can't tell the way that they rubber coat the handle, but Anyhow, yeah, I mean that thing is brawly. If you're swinging knives and stuff a lot, that extra heavy, that maybe you'll grow stronger, as they say in the 13th Warrior, you know. But yeah, for sure. I don't know. This thing seems to be your bargain basement big boy knife. You know, I would kind of push this if you were like, I'm not going to be fully depending on a knife, but if I ever get close and I want to do a finishing move, like the Call of Duty video game, well, yeah, there you go. You could use this thing.
Like I said, I wouldn't have bought this, but
if you were building a log cabin in your bug out, definitely buy this. I mean, that would be.
I probably would not have bought this one. I would have went with an SRK, but when I saw this at the same price as this, I went with the heavier. Like I said, I'm more looking for more pounding stuff, like using it as a hammer because I don't have a hammer, or
the versatility.
Yeah, the versatility is what I look for.
And I mean, man, for the utility workhorse flavor that thing's bringing, I mean, for sure, I would think for a prepper knife, having one of those would be kind of important. I bet you could probably baton that thing with like a safe door, and it would still be. If
you go on the Cold Steel, they baton this through like a 2x4.
Yeah, I'd love to see what they did to it. I've never seen the Leatherneck video, but I'm sure it's amusing, whatever it is. Like, let's chop through a stack of a stack of dead D batteries and see what happens. But all right, so are we done with this?
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, there you go. There's some knives for you.